Hello everyone. Today we are going to explore the world of Salesforce Screen Flows and learn how to build interactive user experiences inside the platform. Screen Flows are one of the most powerful tools in Salesforce ecosystem. They allow us to create custom guided processes that make it easier for users to complete tasks step by step without writing a single line of code. For example, imagine a recruiter filling out a candidate application form or a sales rep following a guided wizard to create an opportunity and a quote. Screen flows make these processes simple, consistent, and error-free. In this session, we will explore the capabilities of screen flows, discuss best practices for designing and implementing them effectively, and look at real-world examples of how organizations use screen flows to streamline their operations and improve customer engagement. We'll talk about the visual design aspects, how to use Salesforce-inspired flow icons, visuals, and UI automation components to make your flows not just functional but also visually appealing and intuitive. Salesforce provides a rich set of pre-built flow elements and UI components that help you create user-friendly and visually consistent designs. These include input components like text boxes, pick lists, and checkboxes, display components such as images, sections, and rich text, and automation tools like decision elements and data operations that handle logic behind the scenes. For instance, you can use a screen with pick lists to capture user choices, a display text section to summarize selections, and a create record element to save the data, all in a single guided experience. By incorporating these visual and automation features, you can build flows that align with Salesforce design principles, improving user adoption, data accuracy, and overall efficiency. Coming to the agenda of this session, we will start by understanding what screen flows are. Next, we will explore the different elements that make up a screen flow, such as screens, choices, navigation buttons, and logic elements like decision, assignment, and subflows. I'll show how each element contributes to making your flow both functional and user-friendly. Then we will categorize the various screen components you can add, like the input components, display components, and choice components. We'll also look at how combining these elements help create a clean and intuitive UI. After that, we will go through some best practices for designing effective screens. We will talk about keeping screens simple, grouping related information with sections, validating inputs before moving forward, and reusing logic by calling subflows. These practices ensure that your flow is both easy to use and easy to maintain. Then we will discuss how to keep your screen flows performant and efficient. We will learn why it is important to minimize unnecessary DML operations, retrieve only the fields you need, and avoid deep nesting or unnecessary loops, all of which help your flow run faster and smoother. We will also look at some common mistakes to avoid, like forgetting to include a proper finish or error handling screen, not handling navigation correctly, or skipping mobile testing. Avoiding these pitfalls will save you a lot of troubleshooting time later. Then comes the fun part, live demos. We will walk through 3 real-world examples: a recruiter data entry flow that guides a recruiter through adding a new candidate, an interactive candidate feedback form, and a file upload and confirmation flow that allows users to attach and submit documents easily. These demos will help you see how screen flows bring business processes to life. Finally, we will wrap up by introducing our next session on scheduled flows, where we will learn how to automate time-based processes in Salesforce. I'll encourage you to continue your Salesforce learning journey with detailed assignments and structured content available on trailblazertutor.com. Screen flows are a type of Salesforce flow that allow you to create guided, interactive user experiences within Salesforce. Unlike record-triggered or auto-launched flows that run automatically in the background, screen flows require user input, making them perfect for use cases like data entry wizards, guided onboarding, interview scheduling, or approval confirmations. They are built using the flow builder and consist of one or more screens that collect, display, and validate data from the user. Each screen can include input fields, pick lists, checkboxes, images, text, or even file uploads, giving admins and developers a no-code way to design rich user interfaces inside Salesforce. Screen flows guide users through a series of steps to collect or update data. They can be launched from buttons, quick actions, lightning pages, or directly from a utility bar. They support navigation, dynamic visibility, and conditional logic to tailor the user experience. Some real-world examples include recruiter entering candidate details step by step, sales rep using a guided flow to create a new opportunity or quote, support agent capturing case feedback, or survey responses. Screen flows bridge the gap between automation and user interaction. They empower business users to execute complex business processes through simple guided interfaces, reducing data entry errors and ensuring consistency across teams, all without needing Apex code. In order to create a screen flow, we will go to the setup and open flows. Click on the new flow button and select screen automations, or you can directly select screen flow from frequently used. Screen automation, then you can select screen flow. This will create a screen flow. In the previous slide, we learned what screen flows are and how they help us create interactive user experiences within Salesforce. Now let us build on that foundation and explore the different types of elements and actions that make up a screen flow. These elements are the building blocks that define how your flow behaves, what data it works with, and how it interacts with users. ScreenFlow supports most of the available element types and actions, and on top of it, it provides an additional screen element. The screen element is the heart of ScreenFlow. It is what allows users to input data, make selections, and navigate through different steps in the process. For example, recruiter might fill out candidate details on the first screen and then review those details on the next screen before submitting them. This is where the flow becomes truly interactive. The get records element retrieves information from Salesforce objects and makes that data available within your flow. For instance, you might use it to fetch a candidate's existing applications or to display a list of open positions from the position object. It ensures your flow is working with real-time Salesforce data. Create, update, delete records elements allow your flow to modify Salesforce data directly without the user needing to leave the flow or use standard page layouts. You can create a new record, update an existing record, or even delete records if necessary. For example, when a recruiter submits a candidate's application, the flow can automatically create a job application record behind the scenes. The decision element acts like a conditional if-else element. It evaluates certain criteria and decides which path the flow should take. For example, if the candidate's experience is greater than 5 years, the flow might route to senior interview path. Otherwise, it may continue with the junior interview process. This makes the flow dynamic and context aware. The assignment element is used to store or manipulate values in flow variables. Think of it as a way to perform quick calculations or update variables on the fly. For instance, you could increment an interview count variable or set a text variable to display a custom confirmation message. The subflow element allows you to call another flow within your current flow. This is incredibly helpful for reusing common logic, such as sending notifications, calculating eligibility, or performing validation without rebuilding those steps every time. It helps maintain cleaner design and improve maintainability as your org grows. One thing to note here is the subflow does not allow a screen element within it. So to summarize, screen elements engage users, data elements manage records, logic elements control the flow's path, and subflows make your automation modular and reusable. Apart from this, screen flows also support the loop variable and error handling. Now let us see the various types of elements and actions supported by ScreenFlow. When you click on the plus icon, it will display all the types of elements that ScreenFlow supports. We have already seen these various types of elements in our other flow sessions like record trigger automation sessions. If you observe, ScreenFlow has an additional interaction element called screen element. It has action element. It can support subflow. It has various logic elements and the various data elements. In the next slide, we will dive deeper into different types of screen components like input, display, and choice element that can be used within the sales screen element itself to make your flows more engaging and user-friendly. In the previous slides, we explored the different types of flow elements and actions available in Salesforce. We learned how the screen element enables user interaction and how other elements like get records, create, delete, update records, decision assignment, and subflow work together to build powerful dynamic flow applications. Now let us shift our focus to something more visual and user-centric like the screen element themselves. These are the components you add inside a screen to collect input, display information, or let users make choices. Screen element in Salesforce Screen Flow can be grouped into three main categories. The input components. These components are used to capture data from the user. Common input elements include text for entering names, comments, or notes, quick list for selecting predefined options like job role or department, checkbox for simple yes/no inputs, date for capturing interview dates or application deadlines, lookup for searching related records such as linking a candidate to a position, file upload for attaching resumes, photos, and other documents. These components make your flow interactive and ensure users provide the right information in the structured format. Display components are used to show information to the user without requiring input. Examples include section, which helps organize content into clear collapsible areas. Display text, great for showing instructions, success messages, or warnings. Image can be used to display company logos or visual cues to improve engagement. It also provides a data table element for displaying the data in a tabular fashion. Display components help guide the user through each step and make the flow visually appealing and easy to follow. Choice components allows users to make selections from a list of available options. They include radio buttons for choosing one option like full-time or part-time, multi-select picklist for selecting multiple skills or interests, picklist choice sets that automatically fetch choices from Salesforce fields or records. These components make your flows flexible and data-driven, adapting to user context and underlying Salesforce data. By understanding how to use these three types of screen elements, input, display, and choice, you can design intuitive, user-friendly flow experiences that simplify data collection, improve accuracy, and enhance overall usability. Now let us see how to add a screen element and various input components. In order to add a screen element, you can click on the plus icon and select screen. So this will give you a place where you can add your screen elements. And if you see, Salesforce supports an input element, it supports display components, and it also supports the custom components like Lightning Web components. Input elements include various input components like lookup fields, text area fields, file upload, enhanced messages, images, pick lists, and various types. Display elements contain the display text, a repeater, and a section. We will discuss this in detail in our examples. You can also include a Lightning Web component as part of your screen element. You can pull all the fields of a particular object by you creating a new resource which is of type record. You can pull all the record fields from here. It also has configurable header, the default header, the footer. So you can control whether you need header to be shown or hidden. You can also show the footer or hide the footer. And in footer, you can control which buttons needs to be shown. So you can have a next button, the previous button, and the finish button. In the next slide, we will explore best practices for designing effective screen layouts and learn how to combine these components smartly to deliver a seamless and engaging user experience within your Salesforce application. Building on the types of screen elements we discussed in the previous slide, let us now talk about some best practices for designing effective and user-friendly screen flows. The key goal is to make your flows simple, intuitive, and efficient so that users can complete their tasks easily without confusion or frustration. Start by designing screens with a clean and logical layout. Group related fields together using sections and use headings or separators lines to create visual structure. A well-organized screen not only looks professional but also helps users focus on what is important. When designing a candidate registration flow, you could have one section for personal details, another for professional experience, and the final for attachments. Always guide your users. Provide a display text, tooltips, or short explanations to help them understand what information is being asked for. This ensures users don't get stuck or guess what to enter. For example, a brief message like "Please upload your resume in PDF format" can prevent confusion and reduce errors. Implement input validations to make sure users provide correct and complete data before they move to the next step. This helps maintain data integrity and reduces back and forth corrections later. For example, if a user enters an invalid email address or skips a required field, display a friendly error message prompting them to fix it. Try to combine related inputs and keep the flow short. Each additional screen adds navigation effort and cognitive load, so only include screens that truly add value. For example, instead of creating separate screens for contact and address details, you could merge them into one well-structured form using multiple sections. Whenever and wherever possible, leverage subflows to reuse common functionality like sending email alerts, updating records, or performing eligibility checks. This promotes consistency, maintainability, and faster updates across multiple screen flows. By following these best practices, you will design screen flows that are efficient, visually appealing, and easy for users to follow, resulting in better data quality and higher adoption. Let us begin our first hands-on demonstration with a simple yet powerful Salesforce Screen Flow that guides users through collecting data for a position record and then creates that record in Salesforce. Start by going to Setup and in Quick Find, enter Flows. Select Flows from Process Automation section and click on New Flow. Select Screen Automations and select Screen Flow. This will open the Flow Builder canvas, your workspace for designing flows. Click the plus icon and choose Screen Element. When the screen element opens, you'll see three configuration areas. The components section where you can select various components like input, display, or custom components. The work area where you can create your screen, and the properties pane where you can configure the properties of the selected component. First time when you enter into the screen, you will get the screen properties by default. Give a label to your screen, call it as position entry screen. API name is automatically generated. Give description if required, and you can also add a stage. So for this flow, I'm not adding any stage because I only have two screens in this. But if you have multiple screens, it is a good idea to add a stage. You can configure header as well as footer in this screen properties. By default, header is automatically shown. If you want, you can hide it. You can add help text for your screen, so I'm not adding any help text. You can configure footer. Since this is the first screen, I don't want the previous button, so I'm hiding previous. And I also don't want a pause button, so I'm hiding the pause button. You can also configure screen actions, which can execute logic when the screen loads or when a user makes changes. For example, you can perform backend data lookups or invoke an Apex callout using this section. For this flow, I'm not configuring any screen actions. For this demo, we will design a recruiter data entry flow that demonstrates input components like text, currency, and long text area fields, drop-downs like department selection, and display text components like headers, instructional text and formatted content, field validations like required fields and inline custom validation rules, record creation by using a create record element, and a confirmation page that dynamically displays the created data. Drag a section component into the working space. Select the section. By default, section component displays one column. Add an additional column and set the width of the first column to 10 out of 12. Second width will be automatically converted to 2 of 12. We will use the left column for user input and the right column to display an image for visual appeal. Remember, sections cannot be nested within another section, but each section can have its own header and visibility rules. For now, I am not setting any visibility rules for this section. I am making it to display always. Within the section element, in the first 10 of 12 column, drag a display text component. Give an API name for the display component. I'll call it as position entry header. Since it is an API name, you cannot have spaces. So you can say position underscore entry underscore header. Give a description. So here I'm calling it as create new position. I'll make it bold and I'll give a size for this as 16, and under this I'll give a basic description. I'll use this as a section head. You can also configure the visibility rules for this display text. I want to always display it, so I'm selecting always. Drag a text component below the display text component and into the 10 of 12 section. Once you select it, the properties specific to the text field will be displayed on the right side. Let us call this as position title. API name is automatically generated. If you want to change, you can change it. Make it required. Require will automatically make it as required. So when user does not enter a value, it is going to throw an exception. You can make the field read-only by using a resource which is populated from some other steps. Currently, I'm not making it read-only or disabled, or I am not giving a default value to it. You can also set the component visibility rules, like you can make it visible only when certain conditions are met. So I want to display it always. You can also give a validate input section, so where you can validate the input. I want to ensure that the position title field has at least 5 characters. So I'm going here below, and here I'll use the length formula function, and I can use insert resource, and I can say position title field, the title API. So I'll say if it is greater than or equal to 5. So whenever this condition does not meet, then it is going to throw an exception. So if it is greater than or equal to 5, if the condition is true, it will not throw an exception. If the condition is false, you can give an error message to it. title should be at least 5 characters. Then below this, add a pick list component, which is also a input component. So for pick list, you have to have some drop down values. So you have multiple options for giving values to a pick list. You can either make a static pick list choice set by adding multiple choices, or you can use a resource and get the value from the actual field from the position object. So for the title, let us first give a label for it. I'll call this as department. I'll make it required. I will ask user to select one value. So if you select yes, so user can select multiple values and it will create a checkbox group. If you select no, it will be a drop down. So I want to give a pick list and I want to create a new choice resource. So you can create a pick list choice set or a record choice set, or you can create a collection choice set. So I want to create a pick list choice set. So pick list choice set will generate a set of choices by using the values of a pick list or a multi-select pick list field. The record choice set will generate a set of choices using a filtered list of records. Collection choice set generates a set of choices from a collection of records. So I want to get the values from the object, so I'm selecting pick list choice set. I'll give a name to this as department pick list. I'll select the object as position and I'll select the data type as pick list and search for the department field. I'll select the department from the drop down and I'll say default order of field is the sort order. Click on done and I'm using the department pick list as a choice value. If you want, you can also set a default value for this. From one of these available values. So I'm not setting any default value. Let me add help text for each of these fields. So for this, I'll add an help text saying select the department this position belongs to. So once you select or add a help text, you'll get a help icon here on that particular field. You can do the same thing for position titles. I'll add one more text field here. I'll call it as location. I'll make it required and I'll add a help text. I'll add an help text. I want to add one more display text. And I want to call this as compensation details and give some description for this. Under this, I want to add a currency field or currency input component. Let me add 2 currency components and 1 long text area component. The first currency component, I'll call it as minimum salary. I'll make it required. For this, I will add a input validation. So I want to ensure that currency value should be greater than 20,000. Say insert resource. So I'll say minimum salary should be greater than or equal to 20,000. If it is less than 20,000, it is going to make it invalid and it will display whatever error message you have here. So the second one, I'll call it as maximum salary, make it required. I'll also add a validation to this that minimum salary should always be greater than maximum salary. Maximum salary greater than minimum salary. Then for job description, I'll make this also as required. I'll call it as job description. I want to ensure that description length is greater than 100 characters. I'll say length of job description is greater than. I'll draw one more long text area field. I'll call this as required skills. I'll not make it required. I'll just leave it as it is. So let me give some help text for minimum salary, maximum salary as well. As you have observed, you can make fields read-only, disabled or conditionally visible using resources or earlier inputs. Add validation rules where appropriate, for example, requiring the position title not to be blank or to meet a certain length. So let me pull these into this 10 of 12 section so that all of them stay in the left side. On the right side, drag a display image component. I'll call this as Astro image. I've already uploaded a static resource in my org called Astro typing. So you can directly refer to a static resource in the image name component. So this will go to static resources and check the image and display that image accordingly. And for this, I'm giving a image height and width of 250 pixels. I'll also add some custom CSS properties so that my image is displayed towards the bottom right. So I'll say as bottom 60 pixel, then I'll say right 4 pixel, and I want to say position is absolute. So this is a custom style that I'm giving. So my image will be of 250 pixel width and height, and it will be displayed at the bottom right. I'll click on done. So other thing that you will observe here, there is a preview option in your screen element, which will help you to check how your screen looks in your desktop or lightning page, or how it looks when you open it through a quick action, and how it looks on a phone. So for example, if I say phone view, my image looks something like this. If you want, you can make adjustments accordingly. For large, this is your desktop view, it looks like this. Don't worry about this image, this will be automatically displayed at the bottom right because CSS is applied after the fact. Once you are satisfied with the screen, click on done. Now once the position details are entered by the user, I want to take this data and store that into Salesforce database. Then for that reason, I'm clicking on plus icon and dragging a create records action. I'll call this as create position record. I will select manually because I want to manually enter the values. So I want to create a position record. So I'll select position and I'll select the various fields. The first field that I am giving is title. So I'll call it as title equals to. So the title is available in the position entry screen on a field called position title. So I'm selecting position title. Similarly, I'll select other fields. Since create record will actually create a record from the backend, so if you want to manually assign the record ID, you can select manually assign variables, and accordingly you'll get the ID of the created record. If you check for matching records, if there is a matching rule, it will check if for the duplicacy of the record and throw an exception accordingly. So once you're satisfied with this, you can click on the screen or click on the close button. Then the next thing that I want to do is I want to display a success screen. So I'll click on the plus icon and I'll add one more screen component. I'll call this as position created screen. I can give a description. I can configure the header and footer. So I'm going to footer. Since this will be my last screen, so I want previous. So I want the next or the finish. I want to hide the pause button. I'm not configuring any actions for this particular screen. Within this, I want to display some text saying that the record is successfully created. I'll call it as success screen and I'll give some details in this success screen. So I already have pre-configured values. I'm just copy pasting them. I'm saying position title is the position title. So I'll just use insert resource. The title is in my positions title variable and department is in my position in the department variable. I'll say insert resource department. Similarly, location is in my location variable. Salary range is minimum salary field and maximum salary field. I remove this and I'll say min salary hyphen max salary. And I want to also display the position ID for the created records. I'll say position ID colon insert resource. So it will be coming from create records action. So I'll just say position from created position record dot ID. Once this is done, so I'll click on done. Whenever you are creating an entry screen, it is always a good practice to ensure that you add all the required fields on the object in the screen so that you don't run into any errors when you are executing the create records action. It is always a good practice to add a fault path and also add an error screen accordingly. Add fault path, and in the fault path you can add a screen element and you can call it as error screen, and in this you can do a display text and display the error message accordingly. So here I'm saying insert resource. So your flow always has a field called flow which has fault message. So if there is any fault, will give you the fault message. Before this, you can say there was an error while creating position record. The fault message is, I'll say colon, and displaying the fault message. If you want, you can do some color formatting to this. You can select color, give a red color to it and click on done. For this, you have to give the API name. So I'll say error message. So while creating a record, if there is any exception, then it will redirect to the error screen. If there is no problem, it will go to the success screen. Once you are satisfied with the flow, you can click on save as new version, give a label to it and give a description and click on save. We will see this flow in action shortly when we discuss launching screen flows and explore the different ways it can be embedded into the Salesforce experience, such as through a lightning app page or a quick action button. Screen flows can combine data entry, validation, and record creation in one seamless interface. That is what we were able to showcase in this example. The Screen Builder canvas offers flexibility or layout, visibility rules, and device customizations as we have seen in the entry screen. We can add display images, validations, and success messages to greatly enhance the user engagement. In the next slide, we will look at performance considerations, including how to handle DML operations efficiently, retrieve only the required fields, and avoid excessive nested subflows to ensure your screen flows run smoothly at scale. Building on the best practices we discussed in the previous slide, it is equally important to think about the performance implications of our screen flows. As our flows become more complex and handle larger data sets, performance can directly affect the user experience. Slow screens, lag during data operations, or even flow failures due to hitting governor limits. So let us look at few key areas to monitor when designing screen flows for efficiency and scale. We have already looked into all these performance considerations in our previous flow related sessions, and most of those apply to screen flow as well. First, keep an eye on the number of DML operations performed within your flow. Every time a record is created, updated, or deleted, it counts as a DML operation. Performing too many of these can trigger governor limit errors or slow down your flow execution depending on the amount of automation on that object. For example, instead of performing multiple record updates in a loop, collect all records into a single collection and perform one bulk update at the end. This reduces DML operations and improves performance significantly. Next, be mindful on the number of fields you retrieve when you use getRecords element. Retrieving every field just in case may seem convenient, but it can slow down your flow and consume unnecessary system resources. Subflows are great for reusing logic, but too many nested subflows can lead to increased processing time and make debugging more difficult. Try to keep your flow hierarchy simple and avoid deeply nested dependencies unless absolutely necessary. Instead of calling three subflows subsequently, each performing a DML, combine the logic into a single well-structured subflow or centralize shared actions like notifications or validations. By monitoring and optimizing these performance metrics like DML operations, fields retrieved, and nested subflows, you will ensure your screen flows remain fast, reliable, and scalable even as they grow in complexity. In the next slide, we will look at some common pitfalls to avoid when designing and implementing screen flows, such as missing error handling screens, navigation mistakes, and mobile compatibility issues, so you can build robust, production ready automations. Building on our discussion about performance consideration, let us now look at some of the common pitfalls to avoid when designing screen flows. Even the most well-designed flows can run into issues if we overlook certain best practices, especially around error handling, data volume, and mobile responsiveness. Let us walk through some of the key areas to watch out for. One of the most common mistakes is forgetting to include a proper finish screen or error handling screen. Without these, users may be left confused or stranded if something goes wrong during the flow. Imagine a recruiter submitting a candidate form but an error due to a missing field, and there is no message or navigation guidance. Always include an error handling path that displays a friendly message like something went wrong, please contact your administrator. A finish screen also helps confirm success and provides next steps. For example, candidate record created successfully, click finish to return to the home page. Another major pitfall is using getRecord element inside a loop. This can cause performance bottlenecks and even hit Salesforce SQL query limits. Another major pitfall is using getRecords or create, update, delete record elements inside a loop. These can cause performance bottlenecks and even hit Salesforce governor limits like too many SQL queries or too many DML statements. Flows that work perfectly in a sandbox or with a few records can fail under real-world data volumes. Always test your flows with realistic data sets to ensure they can handle your expected user load and data scale. A flow that loops through 10 records might work fine, but with 10,000 records, it could slow down or hit limits. Testing under realistic conditions helps identify and optimize these issues early. In today's world, many Salesforce users access the platform on mobile devices. A flow that looks perfect on a desktop might not display properly on a phone or tablet. Multi-column layouts or large images may not scale well on smaller screens. Always test your flows using the Salesforce mobile app or responsive preview to ensure a consistent and accessible user experience. By avoiding these pitfalls, missing error handling, inefficient record retrieval, ignoring data scale, and overlooking mobile usability, you will create a robust, scalable, and user-friendly screen flows that deliver a professional experience every time. In the next part of our session, we will put all these principles into action with a series of live demos showing how to build screen flows that handle these scenarios gracefully and efficiently in real-world Salesforce applications. Now let us see a couple of screen flow examples and try to apply the best practices and performance considerations that we discussed just now. So let me go to setup flows. I created a flow called interview feedback flow. The interview feedback flow demonstrates advanced features like lookups and conditional visibility, and it also demonstrates the performance considerations like how to use get records and how to add a fault path to ensure that end user has proper information when working with the flow. This flow has 3 screens in total. The first one is job application selection screen, then interview feedback screen, and review created screen. Using this flow, a recruiter or an interviewer can select a job application and add a review to the job application to which he has performed an interview. In this, I have a screen element with a display text and lookup input component, which is looking up to an object called job application. And within this job application, the lookup, what I can do is I can look it up by job application name. Lookup is a input component that is provided by Salesforce. It has multiple properties like the API name, field API name. So that is where you drag the actual API name, the object name, and from which object you want to look up. You can give a label to it, and you can make it disabled or enabled. You can do maximum selections. If you say 10, you will get 10 records displayed for you. So lookup internally is going to run a query. Now, once the lookup performs the operation, I also have in the advanced section, if you see here, it is returning me the record ID of the record that I selected from the table that is displayed for me. And that record ID I am storing in job application ID field. I'm not performing any validation, or I don't have any visibility rules set for this particular component. And within this, if you see the screen element, I have configured the footer to hide previous and hide past because this is my first screen. Now, once I get the job application from the lookup, so I'm using get job application details, get action. So where I'm passing the job application ID that I got in my previous screen and getting that particular record. So this will return me one record. So I'm saying only the first record. I'm using automatically store all fields. So as per the performance considerations, it is always a good practice to only pull the fields that you are interested in. I'll go back to my get records and I'll say choose fields and let Salesforce do the rest. So I'll pull the candidate record and I'll pull the name field because that is what I'm using. So whatever fields are required, only those fields I'm going to pull to ensure that my get records is performant. Then once I have the job application record, I'm showing the interview feedback. Initially, I'm displaying the candidate name, the position name, and application name using a display text component and the merge field syntax for all the fields. Then I'm displaying the interview ratings display text and asking the user to rate between 1 and 5 for different area. For this technical skills, I have pulled a radio button component, and this buttons component is having static rating values, rating 1 to rating 5. So if you see the static rating values, the display text is the label is displayed as 1 4, and the internally the value that is stored is 1. Similarly for rating 2, rating 3, 4, and 5, I have 2, 3, 4, 5 values accordingly. So I'm reusing the same fields in all the other radio buttons as well. I also displayed a interview notes long text area so that interviewer can fill the notes, and if there are any concerns, he can fill the concerns, and next steps is going to fill the next steps accordingly. All these are 3 long text area fields. For these long text area elements, I've also given the help text by using provide help property of my component. So I made these radio button groups as required by using the required checkbox. And if you observe here, I have ensured that the user can only select one value. Now, once user enters the interview feedback, I want to take this interview feedback and the job application information and create a review record using the review object manually. Then once the review record is created, I want to display the information that review record is created using a confirmation screen. Assume that the get job application details is failing for some reason, or if the create record is having an internal validation that is failing because of the validation rule. In those scenarios, the end user will not see anything. So it is always a good practice to have an error screen. So what I am doing here, for all my actions like get actions and create actions, I want to create a fault path. So I can select this element and I can say add fault path. It will redirect to fault path. I can select the same element. I can say add fault path. And within the get job applications fault path, I will add a screen. I'll say error screen. I want to display a message using the display text. So I'll drag display text. So I'll say error message. There was an error while running this flow. The error message is, I'll select insert resource, I'll select the flow variable, and I'll say fault message. Now I want to use the same screen for this error as well. So I'll click on this button, I'll say connect to an element, I'll click on this element. Now, whenever there is an exception in create record or get records, in both scenarios, it will be redirected to error screen. If there are no errors, it will go to the next screen and display the data accordingly. Let me save this as a new version and activate this. Let us see one more Screen Flow example. Let me go to setup and in quick find type flows. I've already created a flow called candidate document upload flow. This flow demonstrates a complete file upload experience within the Salesforce Screen Flow, showcasing progress indicators, file restrictions, and a guided confirmation process prior to uploading the file. In this flow, I will be demonstrating the following screen flow elements and components. A progress indicator using the stages property to visually represent each step. As I told you earlier, screen element has a property called stage. And in order for these stages to work, you need to go to the setup from the flow and go to the advanced section, and you have to check this checkbox called show a progress indicator on screen elements. You can show it as a simple top of the screen flow, which shows as something like this. You can do like a path, or you can also display it as a footer. So for my example, I've selected the path option. And once this is done, for each screen in the screen properties, you have to associate the stage value. So I created 5 different stage values to represent each of these 5 screens that I have in my flow. For first screen element, I have given the value as select candidate. So once you enable the progress indicator and stage, the indicator is automatically displayed on the top of your screen element after your header. I'll also be demonstrating a file upload input component, which helps us collecting and attaching documents. The flow begins with a screen where the recruiter is given an ability to select a candidate from a drop-down list. So this screen has the stage, which is populated because of the setup that I have done on my flow advanced section. Then I gave a display component which explains about this screen. I've also dragged a pick list component which pulls data from a variable called candidate choices set. And if you see this variable, it is declared as a record choice set. In our earlier example, we have seen a pick list choice set. Here I am doing a record choice set. A record choice set internally does a SOQL query, and in this you can actually give filter criteria for your records that are displayed. You can sort the candidate by any field. You can specify how many number of choices you want to display by default. I'm giving an option of 50 here. You can configure each choice. So what should be the label of the choice? In this case, I'm displaying the email IDs of the candidates, and internally it's going to store the ID of the respective candidate. That's why it is called a record choice set, because it works with records. Once the record is selected from the select candidate drop down, which allows one value to be selected because multiple is said no here. So when user selects one value, for that record, the underlying ID will be available in the value attribute, and I'll take that ID value and I'm doing a get records action on candidate, and I'm retrieving candidate information. If you observe, I'm not following the best practice when I'm pulling the candidate record. I'm automatically storing all fields, but I'm not using all fields in my flow. So the best practice is to choose fields and let Salesforce do the rest. I'm using the first name, last name, email, and name field. I'll just pull those 4 fields in my get records action. First name, last name, and then email. If any other fields are required, you can pull them accordingly. Let me save this. The other practice that you have to follow whenever you are using any actions in a flow is to use a fault path. Let me go and add a fault path, and within the fault path, I'll add a screen element. I'll call this as error screen. And within the error screen, I will add a display text. So in the display text, I'm going to give error message ran into an issue while running the flow. The error message is, you can say insert resource, go to the flow variable and get fault message, and click on done. Now, if there are no issues with the get candidate details, I'll be redirected to this screen. So if you see the screen property, I've given the stage value for this as enter metadata, which is stage 2. The first thing that I'm doing here is displaying the information of the candidate from my get records action. I'm displaying the first name, last name as name, then the email ID, then the candidate number in this display section. Then I'm asking user to select a type of document, which is again a drop down. And in this case, this is a static list of values. I'm also giving an help text for this using provide help. Then I'm also giving an option for the user to give a description about the document. Then the last thing is I'm giving a radio button with two static values, yes and no, which allows user to say whether the document is confidential or not. Now, once the document information in metadata is filled, I'm giving user a confirmation screen saying that you are trying to upload it to this particular candidate, you are trying to upload this document type, and I'm giving a next step. And once user confirms, I'm taking him to the actual upload screen. So within the upload screen, I'm giving a file upload guidelines using a display text where I'm saying like these are the supported formats and maximum size is 25 MB per file. I'm giving some tips while uploading the document. I'm also displaying the confirmed update details from my previous screen. Then if you observe, I have a upload files input component, which I have dragged from the input section. The upload files input component has various properties like the API name and label, which are common for all components. It also has something called accepted formats, which will tell like what formats can be accepted by the end user. It also has an option so that user can upload multiple files. Here I'm saying user can only upload one file at a time. You can also specify some content document IDs or content version IDs if you want. It is always mandatory to give the related record ID because once this upload document component itself, once you click on upload, it automatically uploads the document and you need to tell like to which record ID the document should be linked. So the candidate field ID is what I'm giving as the related record ID. Remember, this is a mandatory field. You can also give a file name for the uploaded file if you don't want to use the existing file name. If you want to rename it, you can do that through a variable. For this component, I'm not giving any input validation or I'm not setting any visibility rules. I'm not manually assigning any values here. And once the upload is performed, then I'm giving a upload successful screen, which just is confirming that the upload was successful. I can test this either by using the debug screen or the run screen. Let me go and run this. I'm manually running it. We will see how to actually launch these flows in different places in our next slide. But let me run this and see how it works. Once I click on the run button, it opens the flow. The first thing it asks is to select the candidate. So I'm selecting the candidate. In my org, I only have 3 candidates. Their email IDs are displayed here. I'm selecting Sarah. I'll click on next. And if you observe, the bar on the top says like select candidate is done. Now I'm in the document info section. This is nothing but the stages that I have added to these particular flows. If you remember, after the first screen, there was a get records, which was pulling this information. Then it asks for the document type, which is a static list. I'm saying resume. Document description, I'll say resume of Sarah. Is the document confidential? I'm saying yes. Then clicking on next. And before that, if you see that the help text will be displayed as a toe icon. When you click on that, it will tell like what user has to do. Then I'll click on next. It will go to the third step. So it gives a summary of the upload saying what is the name of the candidate, the email, the document type selected, and confidential. Next step is it will say proceed to upload. And once you confirm using confirmation, when you click on next, you are in the 4th step right now. So it gives the file upload guidelines saying that these are the document types that are supported, the file size and some tips, and you have an upload button. So I click on the upload button and you can upload any document. So I'm selecting a document from my upload. So for example, this PDF file. So it tells like what is the size of the file and the name of the file, and it is currently uploading the document. If there is any problem while uploading the document, either because of size restrictions or because of any other issues, so here you are going to get an error message. So once this is done, you can click on done, and once this is done, you can click on next button. So this will give me the last screen document upload complete, and all the information related to upload is displayed here. Once I click on finish, it will go back to the start of the flow. Let me go to the candidate section and open the candidate record. And in the related section, you will see the document that I uploaded under the files section, as well as the notes and attachments section. Now that we understand how screen flows work and how to design them effectively, let us explore the different entry points where these flows can be launched across the Salesforce platform. Screen flows are incredibly flexible. They can be launched from a variety of locations within Salesforce, allowing you to embed automation directly into the user's workflow. By choosing the right entry point, you can make your flow accessible exactly where your users need it most. One of the most common places to launch screen flows is directly on the Lightning app page. This approach allows you to design an entire app experience around the flow. For example, a candidate onboarding app that walks recruiters through a guided intake process. Users can interact with the flow directly within the page layout, making it feel like part of native application interface. Next, you can add screen flows to record pages using quick actions. This is especially useful for contextual automation, such as launching an update contact info or schedule interview flow right from a candidate or opportunity record. With one click, users can perform complex actions through a simple guided screen without navigating away from the record. Another powerful option is the utility bar, which provides a consistent access point across Salesforce apps. Adding a screen flow here allows users to launch it from anywhere in the app, perfect for global tasks like logging feedback, creating service tickets, or submitting quick updates. This ensures convenience and consistency no matter which record or page the user is currently on. Finally, screen flows can be launched via custom buttons or links. These can be placed on page layouts, embedded within Lightning Web Components, or even published on Experience Cloud pages for external users. This method gives you maximum flexibility to tailor flow access based on your business process. For example, a custom start application button on your community portal could launch a candidate registration flow directly within the user's browser. No extra clicks or navigation is required. Let us now see how to launch the flows that we created in our previous slides. I'm going to Lightning App Manager App Builder and creating a new Lightning app page. I'll call this as document upload. I'll click on next. I'll select one region, click on done. And within this, I will add a flow. So once you select the flow component, you can select the flow that you want to display here. So I want to display candidate document upload flow here and click on save. I'll activate it. I'll make it available for all users and I'll say save again and go back to the previous screen. Now I'll go to my app manager. I have created an app called recruiting. I'll click on edit on recruiting. I'll go to navigation items and I'll add this new app that I created called document upload. So within this app, I'll get a separate app page. I'll click on back. Now when I go to recruiting app, I'll see the document upload and the flow will be displayed here. So where I can actually select the candidate and upload the document accordingly. Now let us see an example on how to link a flow to a quick action. So for this, I'll go to Object Manager. Let me go to Job Application, go to Buttons, Links and Actions. I'll click on New Action. I'll select a flow and I'll select Interview Feedback Flow. I'll say Interview Feedback, click on Save. Now I'll go to Page Layouts and within the page layout for Job Application, I'll add the Job Application fields. I'll go to Mobile and Lightning Actions and I'll select this Interview Feedback and display it in the Mobile and Lightning Action section and I'll click on Save. So I don't have a tab for Job Application. I'll go to Tabs section. I'll create a new tab for Job Application object. I'll make it available on the Recruiter app. Click on Save. Yeah, I'll go back to the recruiting application, open in the job application tab. I'll create a new job application. I'll select the candidate. So now I have a job application. Now once I go to the job application, here if you see there is an interview feedback button. When I click on the button, it will open the flow. So currently I have to search for the job application, but you can pre-populate this and make change in your flow and pre-populate the job application. So the intention here was to show how to link a flow. Let us now go and change the interview feedback flow so that it can be properly used from this button. So I'm going to set up, going to the flows. I'll go to the interview feedback flow. So currently if you see it has a job application selection lookup screen, which is looking up for a job application. But since I'm invoking this from the job application record itself, I can get the job application record ID and use that in my follow-up steps. For that reason, I'm going here to Toolbox, creating a new resource. I'll create a variable. I'm calling it as a record ID. Always when you are passing a value from quick action, you should call that variable as record ID. So when you create a record ID variable, when your quick action is invoked, it will take that value of the record automatically and stores that in the record ID variable. It is required that this variable is declared as record ID. You can make it as a text or an ID, make it available for input. Now I'll make a couple of more changes. If you observe here, so it is taking this job application, and if you go to the get job application record, it is using the inflow job application variable. So that inflow job application is populated. So in the lookup record ID, it is populated populating that value. Now I want to get rid of this screen, and I'm deleting this first screen, and I can do an assignment element. I'll say assign record ID. I'll use that inflow variable and I'll say equals to the record ID. So record ID will be populated by the button, and I'll take that record ID, store it in inflow job application so that I don't need to make any further changes. So I'll say save as new version, save, and activate it. Okay, now when I go to job application and click on interview feedback, so I get the interview feedback screen shown to me. First thing is it calls the get records action, gets the candidate information, and I can rate the values accordingly. Click on next, so it will give me my interview confirmation. Click on finish, and now you should see a related review record created. Similarly, you can also embed a flow into a utility bar as well as site. In the previous section, we explored the various entry points for launching screen flows, including Lightning app pages, record pages, the utility bar, and custom buttons or links. Now let us shift our focus to how we can make those screen flows smarter and more personalized using a feature called dynamic visibility. Dynamic visibility allows us to control which components appear on a screen based on user input or data condition. This means the flow can adapt in real time to the user's selection, showing only what is relevant and hiding unnecessary fields, resulting in a cleaner, more intuitive user experience. For example, if a user selects resume available equal to yes, you can instantly display the upload resume component. But if they select no, that field remains hidden. This not only keeps the screens less cluttered, but also helps guide users through the process step by step. The benefits of dynamic visibility include personalized experience, improved usability, streamlined layouts, and conditional logic without code. You can define component visibility rules directly in the flow builder. Each field section or component can have one or more conditions, such as show this section if some field is equal to yes, or display this text if user role is this. Salesforce evaluates these conditions dynamically at runtime, meaning users immediately see changes as they interact with the flow. By using dynamic visibility, you can make your screen flows feel more like intelligent guided applications, reducing unnecessary input fields and creating a smooth contextual experience for your user. Let us now explore one of the most powerful and exciting capabilities in ScreenFlow, integrating Lightning Web Components with ScreenFlows. This integration takes ScreenFlow to the next level, enabling us to create highly interactive and customized user experience that go far beyond what standard flow components can achieve. While screen flows are great for creating guided experiences, sometimes we need more control over the user interface or more advanced functionality. That is where Lightning Web Components come in. By embedding LWCs into screen flows, we can deliver richer dynamic interfaces. Things like conditional layouts, custom pick lists, live calculations, or visually interactive charts. For example, imagine a recruiter filling out a flow to calculate a candidate's total experience. An embedded LWC could automatically validate date change ranges, calculate the total years, and display visual feedback, something that is hard to do with standard flow elements alone. LWCs give you full control over the look, feel, and behavior of your flow screens. You can use them for advanced data validation, for dynamic user interface updates, and for creating interactive widgets. This means your flows can feel like modern web applications, responsive, intuitive, and visually engaging. One of the most powerful aspects of this integration is a two-way data exchange between the Lightning Web Component and the flow. You can pass data from the flow into the Lightning Web Component, and you can send data back from the Lightning Web Component to the flow, allowing the flow to continue its logic based on user interaction. An LWC could capture complex user inputs and send the resulting data set back to the flow for processing. This seamless handoff ensures a consistent and integrated user experience. By combining the strengths of ScreenFlow and Lightning Web Components, we can build Salesforce experiences that are not only automated but also interactive, intelligent, and visually appealing. This approach is particularly valuable for enterprise-grade applications where user experience and flexibility are key. When used thoughtfully, this integration can drastically reduce custom development while still delivering the kind of dynamic UI behavior users expect from modern apps. We will dive deeper into the Lightning Web Components in our upcoming sessions. Now let us see an example on how to use a Lightning Web Component within a flow. We already looked into this recruiter position entry flow. There is a position entry screen which requests information about the position. Then it has a create record element which creates the data, and there is a confirmation screen. So if you see at the screen element, Salesforce Flow provides a header. Header just has header information. It doesn't have any other additional configuration options. I want to have a header which is configurable. I want to have a left text, center text, and a middle text. And based on the screen, I want to change the values for this. In order to achieve the customizable header functionality, I have created a flow header Lightning Web Component. So I can use this flow header Lightning Web Component and configure the header. In order to use this flow header, I'm unchecking the header so that I'm not using the standard header that Salesforce provides. And I'm dragging this Lightning Web Component on the top of the screen. Now I'll have a flow header component, which is my custom component. If you see the custom component, I have given lots of properties. I've given an option to display center text, header left text. I want to give head left text or a right side text. Then I can give help text as well, which gives me a help icon. I can also use some icons. I can give a title, and a title can have its own icon. So since this is a position record, so I want to give a title for this as position record entry screen. I can also give an icon to this. I can also give a right text on the right side of the screen. So here what I'm doing is I'm using the user variable, the current logged in user, and I'm giving his first name, then last name. Let us test this and then we can modify it accordingly. So click on done. So click on save as new version. I'll click on debug so that it shows how it is visible now. So if you see here, I'm getting position record entry screen on the left and my username is displayed on the right side. Similarly, there are other additional properties that I have given in my Lightning Web Component. So Salesforce provides a bunch of icons. So you can go to icon library. So these are all the icons that Salesforce provides. Yeah, this people icon is under utility. So if you want to use any of these utility icons, you will go back to your flow and you will call it as utility : people. So when you use utility : the name of the icon, it will pull the utility icon and display that icon. So let me save this and click on debug. Now you'll get the icon displayed along with the title. So in this way, you can enhance your user interface using a Lightning Web Component. Now once a record is created, I'm also displaying a successfully created record message. I created one more component called as confetti. So you can give number of pieces. Say for example, I'm saying 200. So it will display 200 pieces. So I'll say confetti, click on done. Let us see how this works. So I'm clicking on debug. I'll run the flow. So left side, I'm getting the entry, the name of the user. So I'll give some data here. Yeah, let me give 10,000. Some salary as 80,000. Job description test. Require skills test. I'll click on next. If you remember, I had a validation on this field. The minimum salary should be greater than 20,000. So that's why it is giving me a validation exception. So I give the value as 30,000. It should go through. And for job description also, I had a requirement that it should be greater than 100 characters. So if it is less than 100 characters, it is going to throw an exception. Similarly, for title also, there was a requirement. It should be 5 characters. So once everything is met, when I click on next, it will go through and it will create. And if you see, there is a confetti displayed here. So if you want more confetti, you can increase the number. So you can say instead of 200, you can say 2000. You'll get the confetti displayed accordingly. Let us do some more screen flow examples in our next session. The video is already 1 hour long, so I don't want to add more content to this same video. Before we wrap up, I would like to remind you how you can continue learning and get the most out of this Salesforce training path. If you have found this session valuable, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new lesson. It is a simple way to stay updated and also helps us reach more learners like you. And for those who want to take their learning further, visit trailblazertutor.com. There you will find the complete Salesforce learning path with step-by-step demos, detailed assignments, and plenty of hands-on exercises to help you apply what you have learned in real-world scenarios. Your engagement, whether it is a like, a share, or a subscription, motivate me to keep producing high-quality, practical Salesforce content for you. So thank you in advance for being part of this learning journey.